At 6 a.m. January 2026, early morning near Pokrovsk, the front line is quiet, too quiet. Russian units are moving forward. Infantry, light vehicles, support elements spaced out across forest edges and open ground. But something is wrong. More than 30 mobile vehicles have already been destroyed. Not at the trench, not during an assault. On the way there, multiple Russian attack waves never reach contact. They collapse during movement, before formations can even take shape. Around Pokrovsk, tanks and infantry are disappearing on the approach routes, not because they are overpowered in direct combat, but because they are seen too early. This is not the old kind of battle. There is no single push, no decisive clash. Instead, what's unfolding is a pattern. Short, fast, repeated attempts, each one ending the same way. Ukrainian UAVs and FPV drones control every strip of forest, every dirt road, every open field around the city. Movement itself has become the most dangerous moment. Columns are detected while still spreading out. Coordinates are passed. Strikes follow within minutes. Assaults don't fail at the trench line anymore. They fail before they get close. And that raises a question commanders on both sides can't ignore. If movement is always visible, if the sky never looks away, how does any force still reach a contested city? What happened next around Pokrovsk would show that the answer isn't about firepower. It's about timing, control, and what happens when speed itself becomes a liability. Russian commanders around Pokrovsk didn't ignore the losses. They adjusted. Large armored thrusts were scaled back. Long columns were broken apart. Speed became the priority. Instead of tanks leading the push, infantry moved first. Motorcycles, quad bikes, light trucks, tanks and armored vehicles stayed behind, not as spearheads, as insurance. On paper, the logic made sense. Smaller elements move faster. They spend less time exposed. They avoid obvious roads already mapped as danger zones. Infantry slips through forests and narrow paths. Vehicles change direction quickly. Armor follows only when resistance appears. This approach wasn't experimental. It was repeated, again and again. Short bursts replaced continuous assaults. Each wave tested a different route. Each pause was brief. The goal was simple: shorten detection time, move before drones could react. But that assumption was wrong, because dispersion reduced protection and speed removed redundancy. A motorcycle team has no backup. A light truck has no buffer. When one element is stopped, there is nothing nearby to absorb the shock. Worse still, tanks held in reserve create pressure. When infantry slows down, armor is forced forward under time constraints. Route choice becomes rushed, and the moment tanks move, concealment disappears. This adaptation looked modern, flexible, efficient. But on the ground, it created a new weakness. And from above, that weakness was impossible to miss, because Ukrainian drones weren't reacting to contact anymore. They were waiting for movement. The shift didn't happen all at once. It built quietly. Above the forests and open ground around Pokrovsk, Ukrainian drones stayed in the air. Not one platform, many. High-altitude surveillance drones watched wide areas. Lower systems rotated in and out to keep eyes on the same routes as light changed and weather shifted. This wasn't observation in bursts. It was continuity. A living map formed over days. Routes repeated. Patterns emerged. A cluster near a tree line. A vehicle pausing longer than planned. Tracks appearing where none existed before. Detection now happened early, at the first stage of movement, not at the trench. And when movement was spotted, drones didn't rush to strike. They held contact, direction, speed, intent, Units that believed they were unseen kept moving, unaware their path was already marked. By the time danger was felt on the ground, options were gone. Turning back became as risky as moving forward. Forests no longer provided cover. From above, tree lines helped measure movement. Open fields created contrast. What looked safe at ground level appeared exposed from the sky. As Russian units slowed to listen, scan, or wait for orders, the window narrowed. Because hesitation gave operators time. Time to adjust angles, time to pass coordinates. And once that attention locked on, the next phase began. Not at the trench, but in the approach. And this time, observation didn't stay passive. The first strikes don't look dramatic. No massive explosions, no collapsing trench lines. They start with timing. As soon as Russian units hesitate near tree lines or field edges, FPV drones move in. Fast, low. The lead element is hit first. A motorcycle, a truck, sometimes just one vehicle. That's enough. Movement stops. The group scatters or freezes, and the approach breaks. FPV drones don't chase chaos, they shape it. Once a unit slows down, drones stay overhead, adjusting angle and distance. They don't rush. They wait for confirmation. Coordinates are passed. Mortars answer. Rounds begin landing near cover. Close enough to force movement, not close enough to finish the job. Soldiers leave tree lines. They run for open ground, and that's when FPVs return. This isn't one strike, it's a sequence. FPVs threaten from close range. Mortars and artillery arrive from distance. Reacting to one exposes the unit to the other. Groups that spread out to avoid indirect fire become isolated targets. Groups that stay together take heavier losses. Timing collapses. Speed-based assaults lose momentum once fire starts landing. Routes change. Coordination breaks. Radio traffic spikes. Requests overlap. Decisions slow. Ukrainian operators keep feeding updates. Russian commanders struggle to regain control. By the time units reach the outer edge of Ukrainian positions, the fight is already underway. Losses are taken. Time is burned. The trench line hasn't been reached, but the assault is already failing. And when infantry can't move forward on its own, the next decision is made. Heavier vehicles are called in. And that changes everything. When infantry stalls, pressure moves upward. Commanders need stability. They need protection. So tanks are pushed forward, not to break through, to fix the situation. Armored vehicles roll in behind scattered infantry, following the same forest edges, the same open lanes. From the air, the change is immediate. Heavier vehicles leave stronger visual and thermal traces. Their movement is slower, their pauses longer. Drones don't need to search anymore. They already know the routes. As tanks slow to match infantry pace, FPVs begin to approach. Not from the front, from the flanks, from behind. They don't always score direct hits. They don't have to. Near misses force tanks to stop. Crews reverse, turn hulls, reposition. Each adjustment exposes infantry ahead. Once armor hesitates, soldiers lose cover. Formations break, units scatter. Indirect fire follows. Mortar rounds land near armored vehicles, not to destroy them outright, to pin them. Movement becomes a cycle. Advance, stop, adjust, withdraw. Every cycle burns time. Support vehicles move forward. Fuel trucks, ammunition carriers, recovery assets. That rear traffic creates new targets. Drones shift focus. Supply routes are tracked. Vehicles are hit or forced back. Resupply slows. Coordination frays. By the time tanks pull out, the assault has no shape. No momentum, no clear objective. This sequence repeats across multiple attempts. Each time armor enters, it marks the point where the push unravels, not with a decisive clash, but with stalled movement. And once the flow breaks, recovery becomes the priority, not advance. That's when the larger effect begins to show. What happened around Pokrovsk wasn't a dramatic collapse. There was no single moment where the line broke. Instead, momentum drained away. Assaults stopped not because forces were wiped out, but because they could no longer be fed. Movement slowed, supply thinned, timing failed. Control of the low sky changed everything. Drones didn't need to destroy every unit. They only needed to see them, track them, delay them. Once movement was disrupted behind the line, the front followed. Ammunition arrived late. Medical evacuation stalled. Damaged vehicles stayed where they were. Each pause gave Ukrainian forces time. Time to reorganize. Time to reset. Over multiple cycles, attacks came less often. Gaps between attempts grew longer. Pressure faded. This wasn't about who had more tanks or more soldiers. It was about who controlled information, who controlled timing. Russia still has options. Counter-drone systems can expand. Formations can change. But every adjustment comes at a cost. Slower movement, higher exposure, more complexity. And in a battlefield where visibility is constant and reaction time is short, complexity becomes risk. What Pokrovsk shows is bigger than one sector. Modern battles are no longer decided at the trench. They're decided on the way there. If you want clear, no-hype breakdowns of how modern wars are actually fought, subscribe. New battlefield analysis every week, because the future of warfare isn't about the clash. It's about whether you can move at all.